Hello Internet! Today I'm going to talk about how I learned to light meter using only my eyes. Even though I've been shooting digital SLRs for some years, I've never really paid attention to the light meter. I've always been trying to satisfy the light meter inside my camera, but I've never paid attention to the actual settings I've been using. Now, when shooting analog, it's often easier to use manual settings, and knowing in advance what settings you're going to use is a great help. But the first analog camera I've really been shooting is the Canon AE1, and the internal light meter has been doing all the work for me. So I figured I needed a way to force myself into remember what settings to use and to judge the light and come up with some settings without the help of an internal light meter. Now, what are some of the options? Well, there is the Sunny 16 rule. Now, all the math behind the Sunny 16 rule is very complicated, but if you put your shutter speed on the closest setting to the ISO speed you're using, so if I'm using ISO 400, the closest setting on this camera is 1/500 of a second, then in bright sunlight you should be using f16, and then you adjust your aperture value according to the light. For instance, if you go into the shade, you'd be at f4. That's all good and well, but I could never remember all these numbers when I was out shooting. And even if I could, I always had the internal light meter in the camera, so I was never forced to actually remember the values. My primary reason for learning how to shoot full manual without the help of a light meter is this camera. This is a Minolta SRT-100X. This was my grandmother's camera. When I got this camera, the light meter was already broken. But I really wanted to shoot it, because this is really a machine of a camera. So I decided I wanted to force myself to shoot a full roll of film on this camera. To help me do this, I bought this piece of equipment. This is a light meter, but it's not one of your fancy modern electronic digital light meters. This is an old school analog light meter using selenium cells, so there's no need for a battery. This particular light meter is a Hanimex Zirconic light meter. There's a small scale reading in the top of the light meter, and you adjust this wheel accordingly. Once you've lined up the wheel to the red light meter indicator, you can read your aperture and shutter speed values in the bottom of the wheel. Now, having to pull out the light meter every time I needed to take a picture quickly made me remember what values were used in different situations. And before long I could ditch the light meter and walk around shooting with nothing but my eye reading the lights. I continue to improve my light meter reading skills, and I'm in no way an expert, but that's the way I learned how to start light metering by my eye. Those are my tips for you in this video. My name is Søren, thank you for watching.